Hi guys, welcome back to chapter 12. In this chapter we are going to discuss about internet infrastructures and network computer security. We are going to discuss about internet protocol, TCP and IP. We are going to discuss about local area network addresses, internet protocol addresses, IP, and then we are going to discuss about the differences between computers IP and internet IP addresses. We are going to talk about domain system name and then accessing the internet, broadband, modem, DSL, and then finally we are going to discuss about phishing, spam, viruses, and so on. Alright guys, let me ask you a question before we go further into our chapter. What are the differences between TCP and IP? We can simply summarize the differences between TCP and IP by saying that TCP is actually responsible for the data delivery of a packet and IP is actually the responsible for the logical addressing, which means that IP actually obtains the address, while on the other hand, TCP guarantees the delivery of the data to that address. So they are actually related to each other. Okay, so IP obtains the address and TCP guarantees the delivery of data to this particular address. This is simply the differences between both TCP and IP. Alright, let's ask another question. What is the meaning of internet? Internet has many definitions. One of the definitions is that it's a global computer network that provide a variety of information and communication facilities. So the internet is actually a vast collection of machines and devices spreading out across the world, okay? And for the main purpose of, connecting devices to each other or devices to human beings. And there is actually an important need to identify and locate specific, whether it's a device or a machine and so on. So this is actually the importance of IP. By using the IP, we can easily define and locate a specific location. Now, in the same context, what are the local area network addresses? Local area network addresses are devices that actually connected to a LAN, and they have their own unique hardware addresses. Each device has its own unique address. This address is very useful only in the context of a LAN. By what I mean is that it cannot be used to locate machines on the internet. All right, so this address cannot be used to indicate the location of a machine, as it's impossible actually to move the machine somewhere else. For example, the notebook, computers, laptops, and so on. All right, so what is actually an IP? What is Internet Protocol Address? IP address. IP address is actually a numerical label that is assigned to each device. So each device has its own IP connected to a computer network, and it uses the internet protocol for the main purpose of communication. Okay, so an IP address has two main functions. Okay, first, host the network interface identification and the location addressing. So first, hosting the network and then locating the address. Okay, this is the meaning of IP address. And based on the Internet Protocol version, which is IP4, IP version 4, the IP address is actually contains of 32 byte numbers, and they are made up of 4 octets. For example, as we can see here, we have 4 octets: 192, octet number 1, 162, and then 1.1. These are the 4 octets, okay? And there are actually 5 classes of IP addresses, as we can see here, class A and B and C and D and E. Now let's understand the differences between computer's IP address and internet IP address. For the computer IP address, it's private address, it cannot be changed, while on the other hand, internet IP address is public. And for the computer is internal, the internet is external. The computers uses LAN only, and for the internet IP uses WAN. And this is an example. If you want to know the IP address for your computers, you just can go from command, Windows command, and then IP configuration, IP config. It's going to show you your computer's IP. While on the other hand, if you want to know the internet IP address, you can visit this website, which is what is my IP address. Okay, so these are 2 different things that you need to understand. The computer's IP address is different from the internet IP address. Now, what is the domain system name? The domain system name has one main purpose, which allows textual names to be associated with IP addresses. If you want to create your own website, then you need a domain. This domain, you can choose actually the text. In this case, for example, in our faculty, the domain is humanities.utm.my/education. Okay, this is the one in charge for the faculty IT, for example, technician has chosen this text that is going to be associated with the IP address, and it goes for any businesses. If you can see any companies, their website is very associated with their own business, their own text. Okay. All right, let's ask one more question here. How to access the internet? I'm sure it's very easy to access the internet nowadays, but how does it work? It works actually by something called Internet Service Providers, ISPs. So if you want to access the internet, for example, from your home, you will need an Internet Service Provider, ISP. And then you will need a router to connect to this Internet Service Provider, okay? And the Internet Service Provider often provide a router with free if you subscribe into their services, which means that you can use the internet for unlimited devices, since it's it's your own. You can connect laptops, computers, smartphones, and so on. So the main 2 things that you need to consider when you want to explain about accessing the internet: first, the internet service provider, and then you are going to need a router, which most of the time the company itself is going to provide this router for free. All right, so what is actually SSL, which stands for Secure Sockets Layer? We can simply say that SSL is standard technology for keeping an internet connection secure, okay, and safeguarding to any sensitive data that is being sent between two systems. So the main purpose of SSL is to prevent criminals, prevent spams, prevent whatever hacks and so on. And it actually it uses HTTPS instead of HTTP. And you can know the SSL whether it is HTTPS by the padlock logo that appears in user browser. And it's actually a small data file that, cryptographic key to an organization's detail. So it has actually a very sensitive information, and that is why it's more secure for internet use. And it widely used in credited card transaction, data transfer, and online login. For example, most of banks websites uses HTTPS instead of HTTP. It's more secure when it comes to money, transfer, sensitive data, government data, and so on. Okay, guys. So this is actually the final, uh, section of this chapter. It talks about phishing, spam, viruses, and so on. What I need from you when we meet online, I'm going to call names to define each of these one and find the differences between them. So this is going to be an activity for you guys, and I hope that you get prepared before the class. So make sure to read, browse the internet. All the information are there, and it's very easy for you to actually access this information. With that being said, that's all for today. I wish it was clear enough for you. If you have more questions, we are going to discuss online when we meet tomorrow. And stay safe and take care. Bye bye.